Hello, I'm Chris Hartwell, and welcome to The Heartbeat. Today we're going to be talking about Fede Alvarez's Don't Breathe. Join me, won't you? So, in Don't Breathe, we meet Rocky, Alex, and Money, three small-time house burglars who have just found the perfect mark, a blind man who lives by himself and is sitting on roughly $500,000. Of course, as it turns out, that blind man is also a war veteran with one terrifying dog and a whole heck of a lot of twisted rage due to his recently killed daughter, making what was supposed to be the dream smash and grab into a nightmarish get smashed and get grabbed. Now guys, before I dive into this review, I have to confess to you, I am the type of person that gets very emotionally invested in pretty much any movie I watch. Especially horror films, which means they scare the crud out of me. And I actually haven't watched in theaters a horror film since Gore Verbinski's The Ring back in 2002. And I say all of this just to give you an idea how much it means when I say I really rather enjoyed almost all of this film, and that wasn't because it wasn't as scary as all get out, but because its thrills were so masterfully sculpted, quite fittingly informing me when I could breathe and when I couldn't. And much of that really came down to this film's direction, because even as the story itself was this tried and true horror film concept, that being a group of characters stuck in a confined space, hunted down by some kind of monster, it was director Fede Alvarez's unwavering commitment to this specific telling of that familiar tale, handling each piece as if it were the first and only time that it had been touched, that led to such a successfully suspenseful film. And three of the primary ways that he accomplished this were by masterfully establishing objectives, stakes, and geography, which, when you think about a horror film, may seem counter to what it wants to do. After all, what could be more horrifying than walking into a darkened room completely unaware of what might lie inside? Well, how about walking into a completely darkened room, knowing that inside is some kind of creature with the desire and ability to completely devour you, and also knowing that that room itself is only 5 feet by 5 feet. And so, on Don't Breathe, Alvarez took the time to ensure that we understood those characters' objectives, because even as both heroes and villain were initially forced into conflict as the story developed, there were numerous opportunities for them to either leave that house or call the cops. And had we not understood what their objectives and aims were, we probably wouldn't have been able to continue to, so fully anyways, suspend our disbelief and remain engaged in the story. Alvarez also understood the importance of establishing what was at stake. So, for example, as the trailer already spoiled for us, one of the central characters dies in the first act of this film, which really did everything for the suspense and tension going forwards, as it informed us to what lengths this once believed helpless old man would go to exorcise these intruders from his house. In the same way, one of my very favorite scenes of this whole film was when our main characters were forced into this completely pitch black cellar, even as we could still see what was happening to them. So even as they blindly stumbled around, we knew exactly the consequences of every one of their steps, every one of their breaths, and every one of their gropes out into the darkness, making that scene so incredibly tense. And finally, Alvarez just did a brilliant job of establishing the geography of this location by having the camera right when our heroes enter that house push through that location, focusing on that one locked door, that one concealed gun, and that one rusted hammer, subtly informing us that those items would be important, while still refusing to tell me exactly why, how, or when. And honestly, there were so many moments in this film that the camera was just really masterfully directed, like the moments where it would just sit on a wide shot, showing me exactly where the villain was in relation to our heroes, but just sit there and force me to just stare and wait and watch as he drew closer and closer and closer. And it's in a film like this where Stephen Lang's blind man really did make the perfect villain, so to speak, because yes, we understood his objectives. Yes, we comprehended the stakes and what he would do if he caught the kids. And yes, we were able to infer that he would eventually pick up that rusted hammer and use that gun. But by infusing this role with this wild, feral energy, Lang still kept us guessing, playing the character like this crazed animal who, when pushed, really could do just about anything. And really, this entire film was able to accomplish that. Even in its limited claustrophobic location, it allowed for the depth, breadth, and kind of terror to grow and evolve as the story went along in really unexpected ways. Which, truth be told, did ultimately lead to a couple of turns and revelations that I personally found so twisted and disturbing that I found myself recoiling and emotionally disengaging just a little bit. And that's not to say that they weren't creepy or surprising, I just personally didn't find them as enjoyable as the purely suspenseful parts of the film earlier on. So I will say to any of you contemplating seeing this film, it is a fantastically tight film with a breezy 88-minute running time that really knows how to get you on the edge of your seat. But at the same time, in the final act, it really does move beyond just that suspense thriller and really does become a full-on disturbing horror film. Nonetheless, based on craft alone, I have to give this film at least a 3.5 out of 5. I did enjoy it. There were just moments that it pushed the envelope just a little bit much, which, being the first horror film I've seen in theaters in about 14 years, 3.5 is not so bad. I would still love to know what you guys thought of the film, though, so definitely comment below and let me know. What's been your favorite horror film of 2016? Any other ones that you recommend to me so that I can continue to scream and squirm and just cover my eyes watching a movie? Comment below and let me know. Finally, please do subscribe. I'm going to continue to review films and television on this channel, and I would love if you stay up to date on all of those things. But for now, I'm Chris Hartwell. This is The Heartbeat. Thank you for joining me.